He himself suffered a lot at the hands of the tyrants, so much so that he was left once unconscious after he was beaten to near death. It did not bother him for his wealth to be used up for the sake of Allah and the propagation of the new light of Islam. The true believer. In every test of oppression, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu gave firm proof of his firm faith. He did not expect any material gains from his support of Islam. His protection of converts saved them from the mischievous acts of the Quraysh and provided them with a shelter to worship Allah in relative peace. Migration to Al-Madinah. Desperate efforts. No doubt that the way the Prophet ﷺ preached his message for 13 years in Mecca had no parallel in history. His courage and determination in the face of bitter opposition will always be a source of inspiration to those who work in the cause of truth and justice. He began single-handed with no visible means of protection to meet the attacks of the barbarous tribes of Arabia. It was really a difficult mission to change those people who were notorious for their worship of idols and criminal acts into clean and civilized human beings. Side by side with the Prophet ﷺ, the assistance provided by Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu in helping the cause and protecting weak converts created a strong bond between him and the Prophet ﷺ. This bond was further confirmed by their joint departure to Al-Madinah. Change of direction. As the Prophet ﷺ felt desperate to change the society of Mecca, he decided to address those who came from afar to participate in fairs outside the city. On many occasions, the response was negative in the beginning. But soon the Prophet ﷺ happened to see a group of visitors from Yathrib. They listened to his message on the very first occasion, and in the course of a couple of years, a number of them accepted the Islamic faith. Protection attained. The Prophet ﷺ caught this chance to provide his followers with a place of security. He already had held a pledge of protection with the chiefs of Yathrib. Hence, the Prophet ﷺ permitted his companions to start migrating to Yathrib.
Hurry up, let's go.
Let's move quickly. Quickly, come on.
Hey, Sahib.
What?
What about my flock of sheep? Can I take it with me?
No, now put it back. I already told you we have to leave these things behind. Inshallah, we'll get something better in Al-Madinah. The Prophet ﷺ himself was preparing to leave the city to the new place where he could find peace to preach the message. His companions began migrating to Yathrib in batches and groups until most of them left the city under the cover of darkness, leaving behind their houses and property. First in everything, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu himself expressed his wish on many occasions to leave to Yathrib. But the Prophet ﷺ was always asking him to wait for a while. The Prophet ﷺ said to him, "Do not do so yet. Maybe Allah will send a companion to be with you when you migrate." These words gave Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu a strong feeling that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be his companion. At the same time, he was afraid lest Quraysh would come to know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was planning to leave Mecca. 4 months had now passed since the first batches of Muslims had left Mecca. And there were only a few people who for one reason or another could not leave the city, including the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr, and Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. The plot to murder the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quraysh felt the danger of permitting Muslims to escape their control. Hence, they finally decided to put an end to the Prophet's life. They agreed to have about 40 young men from all tribes to stand by the house of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam one night and tear his body with their swords. Orders to migrate to Al-Madinah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, however, was informed by Allah of the plot and was instructed to migrate. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in turn told his close friend Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu to be ready for the sacred voyage. Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu had already bought 2 camels to use in his journey to Al-Madinah. He had fed the 2 camels well in preparation for the long journey. Leaving the homeland. Early morning before dawn, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered his cousin Ali radiyallahu anhu to cover himself with his blanket and sleep in his bed. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left, passing in front of the youth surrounding his house.
Enough! Let's go in!
Alright, Muhammad, the game is up. Alright, lift up that blanket. Let's get this over.
What? Who? That's Ali! Muhammad left! Muhammad escaped! Muhammad is gone! Where is he? Where could he have gone? This is terrible! This is simply terrible!
What are we going to do now? Get after him! Get after him!
He reached the house of Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, who kept awake and ready to join the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They both made for a cave of Thawr, about 5 miles south of Mecca. Both the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu kept in the cave while Meccans were searching everywhere to find them after they had discovered that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had escaped them. The Quraysh horsemen came very close to the cave, and Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu felt his body shivering for fear of being seen by pursuers. However, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam whispered in his ear, "Do not grieve, Allah is with us." The pursuers came very close to the mouth of the cave.
Hey! Do you see anything?
No! This is where the footprints stop, but there's no one. It's like they just vanished.
Look inside that cave.
There's nobody in that old cave. They must have left. Let's go.
The disbelievers would have seen the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companion had they gone into that cave. But thanks to Allah, they left in dismay, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companion kept safe. They were very sure that Allah had protected them. sacrifices for